I'm live. Hello. I'm really bad at live streams, so apologies in advance for when this goes weird. Um, also apologies because I'm recovering from COVID. Um, it's been about 2 weeks, but I still have a cough. Anyway, hello everyone. I don't know if there's anyone here yet. This is on YouTube and Facebook. Hello. Oh look, there's a little eyeball little notification thing. One person is watching. Hello, one person. I hope that friends join you. But anyway, hello. I am Jaida Elcock. I am the director of public relations of Miss and one of the co-founders. Um, and I'm doing a Q&A about Miss, about my research, about my life, about the meaning of the universe, literally anything that you want to ask me. I'm here to answer all of your fantastic questions. And if there aren't any questions, I'm happy to just babble on about everything and nothing because that's something that I'm really good at is talking about nothing for an extended period of time. So, why don't I start off by just explaining how Miss came to be? That sounds like a great plan. After I drink some water, because this cough is kind of bad sometimes. Thank you for your patience. Amazing. Hi, Mom. Getting comments in from like YouTube and Facebook and things. Hi, Mom. That's funny. I don't ever call her Mom. So I don't know why I just called her Mom right now. Anyway, doesn't matter. Yeah, sure. I'll start by just kind of talking about how Miss came to be. Well, I guess randomly, if you're here and you don't know what Miss is, that would be super weird, but that's totally fine too. Hello. Minorities in Shark Sciences is aka Miss. It is a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting women and gender minorities of color in the field of shark science. And this all came to be in a very weird way. Basically in 2020, during one of the worst parts of COVID before all of the vaccines and everything, when we were all still quarantined, there was a lot of, civil unrest happening with George Floyd and a lot of other things. And there was this movement, Black Birders Week, that decided, you know what, Black people exist in nature and we do things and we're scientists and we enjoy being outside. And I believe part of that stemmed from there was a Black man in, I think, Central Park, but a park. And he was basically being harassed by a white woman saying she was going to call the police. It was a whole thing. It was very unfortunate to watch. That person is safe, thank goodness. But so all of this started Black Birders Week and the hashtag Black in Nature on Twitter to be like, hello, we're Black. We exist outside. Outside is for everyone. And all of us 4 co-founders were tweeting under that hashtag, and we all kind of found each other and agreed that being the only Black woman in a room full of your peers or your colleagues is not a great feeling. You want to see yourself represented in like a group of your peers and your colleagues and things like that, and in the media and everything. And so we all kind of decided we were kind of sick of being the only one. And we were like, we should start a club. LOL, wouldn't that be fun? And then Jasmine, our president and CEO, Madam President, if you will, was like, yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what we're going to do is we're going to start a group, an organization, a club, whatever you want to call it. And we started a group chat with the 4 of us. And then 2 weeks later, we had an organization and we launched and we raised like $15,000 in the first 3 days, which is unheard of. I mean, I'm sure it's heard of, but not to me. And the 4 of us kind of just started off on this journey of running a nonprofit. None of us had any idea of what we're doing. We kind of still don't really know what we're doing. But we do our best, and we're now here running a nonprofit. And yeah, our first thing that we wanted to do that we were focused on was creating a workshop. And I'm sure that you've all seen pictures from our workshops. Creating a workshop partnered with the Field School in Miami to be able to provide like a hands-on experience for a weekend, fully funded, travel and everything. They don't have no, they don't have to pay for food. They don't have to pay for housing. They don't have to pay for travel. Nothing. Um, to provide a bunch of people around the country a hands-on opportunity to get some fieldwork experience with sharks. Um, and so far, we've done 4 of them. We have 2 each year, 2 weekends back to back, and they have gone, pun intended, swimmingly. And it's always been super fun. We get to meet a whole bunch of very excited, awesome up and coming scientists, and then also all 4 of us co-founders get to hang out because we don't live in the same place, so it's always nice to see each other. So that was our first opportunity that we wanted to be able to provide for our members, and now we have a bunch more. We've got fellowships, we've got internships, we've got a summer camp, we've got a mentorship program. And all of these things are possible because people donate and decide to, be generous and share their time and their money and their goods and services with us to make it all possible. And to everyone that has supported us, whether it be with a donation or with a donation of goods and services or a donation of your time or just sharing and liking some of our posts and getting our message out there, thank you to absolutely all of you, because we wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. So we appreciate you from the bottom of our sharky hearts. But yeah, so that's kind of the story of Miss. If you have any questions specifically about Miss or about me and my research or about shark facts in general, then go ahead and throw them in the comments and I'd be happy to answer them for you. Oh, thank you, Amber. Amber says, what you guys do is amazing. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. Pardon my cough, recovering from COVID. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any questions about Miss, about me, about sharks, about the meaning of life, any of it? I am happy to answer any questions. Vic says, what am I currently up to? I'm assuming you mean in research. I am at the MIT Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution joint program for biological oceanography. I just finished my first year, which is great. And now I'm starting on like they call it like a first year project, but it's due at the end of your second year. I don't really understand it, but I'm going to go with it. And I am interested in looking at different aspects of like migration in migratory sharks. So right now I have a big data set on basking sharks. So I'm interested to see different aspects of basking shark like behavior and stuff while they're migrating. And I'm very excited about it. But we also are looking into whale sharks. I'm sure we've got data sets on other species. I know we're going to hopefully get some data sets on a bunch of other migratory species like blue sharks, makos. I would love to get a data set on a thresher shark, my favorite shark ever. But yeah, I'm interested in like migration energetics and behavioral ecology. Like, do you eat while you migrate, or do you just starve yourself until you find a good source of food, like thousands of miles away from where you just came from? I have no idea. All kinds of sharks do all kinds of different things, and they have the weirdest lifestyle ever. And so I am excited to kind of start to put some pieces together of this crazy puzzle of migration for different sharks. That was a super long-winded answer, but I hope that it answered your question well. Shanae says, I appreciate all of you for hosting the summer camp this week. Your daughter's enjoying herself. Great. I'm so excited for her. I am sadly not there because I'm, doing research over the summer as well. But Jasmine and Carly are there. I know they're having a ton of fun. I know our Eugenie Clark fellows are there as well. One of my friends, Janita, is one of those fellows, and she's having a grand old time while she's out there. And so I'm super excited for your daughter to be having a great time out there. That's awesome. Let's see. What do I love about thresher sharks? Oh, everything. They look terrified. Like, they look like they are afraid to ask for ketchup at McDonald's. And I find that hilarious because they're a carnivorous predator. Like I don't know, they're hilarious. But also it's a shark that hunts with its butt. That's awesome. Um, they just like swim as fast as they can towards like a bait ball and then like stop on a dime and with their tail. That's awesome. Also, they can jump out of the water. There's a picture that went around on Twitter like a couple months ago, I think, and it was it was a thresher shark jumping out of the water. It was high out of the water, and it had a cookie cutter shark like attached to itself, just like dangling, and the whole image with like its face looking so nervous as they always do, just all together was hilarious. But yeah, they're just really cool animals. Also, when you see them out of the water, they're kind of like an iridescent, shiny type of deal. I haven't seen one in person, but that's like a thing. You can find pictures of it, and I'm sure a lot of the pictures that you see, like on like Google Images or something, are like super enhanced to make them look more like purplish and greenish and bluish than they actually are. But they do have like this iridescent hue to them, and that is the coolest thing ever. That's what I love about thresher sharks. Um, um, but I will say that the wabagong is up there for one of my favorites as well. There are multiple species of wabagongs, but they're incredibly underrated. They're closely related to the whale shark, fun fact, which is weird. But they are super interesting. They are ambush hunters, and so they just kind of like sit in the water and like wait. And like a fish comes by, there's like videos and it's the craziest thing, but like a fish swims by and suspects nothing because it's blending into like the rocks and the coral and stuff around it, and then it just opens and creates like this vacuum, like this strong current, and just pulls the fish right into its mouth and then chomps down, and like that's the end of that fish. And I'm like, that is so effective. They just sit there and do nothing until suddenly food. Like that's kind of what I wish. My mother is asking, where do thresher sharks live? Open water? Have they ever come near any shoreline? Ooh, actually, yeah. So they are typically like coastal pelagic. I'm sure it probably depends on like uh life stage, like a juvenile versus like a mature animal. I'm sure the mature, like they're migratory, and so they, can go into the open ocean and things. But there was one, I'm so upset that I missed it. Last summer, one washed up, and it was alive, on Narragansett Beach in Rhode Island. And just like, it was in like a foot and a half of water, and its tail was like flopping everywhere. And it got back in the water safely, I believe, to my knowledge at least. But there's like a video of it somewhere, and I saw it on Facebook or something, and it was being shared everywhere, of just this not super small shark just sitting on the beach. I don't know why it was there. I don't know what it was doing so close to shore. But I don't know. And then it, as far as I know, swam back out into the ocean and was fine. But like in a foot of water, probably. So yeah, they can come close to shorelines. It's not super common. Like that was a pretty big thing. Like if that were a different species of shark, I'm sure it wouldn't have been quite as weird. But like a thresher, everyone was like, "What are you doing here?" It was weird, but it was so cool. Yeah. I so wish I could have been there for it. And then my friend, obviously, one of the Eugenie Clark fellows, Janita, lives in, or used to live in, Rhode Island, and she was like out of town for that, of course. And she was like, "How come I missed that?" She was so upset, and I don't blame her. I was also quite upset. Yeah, it was super cool. Are threshers warmer water or colder water sharks? Well, since they're found up here, I would say like temperate. Why don't I look it up too? Thresher shark habitat. Because surprise, surprise, I don't know the answer to everything. Let's see. Where do treasure sharks live? Um, they. Oh, I see. Um, yeah, they can be like temperate and tropical. Is pretty typical as far as I am aware. Um, so they can be found like up here in Massachusetts and then all the way down in like Florida. Um, on the that's eastern side of Australia. So they're kind of they are not super uncommon in many different places, if that made sense. That was a really roundabout answer. So kind of temperate to tropical waters. So yeah. Oh, bye, Vic. Have a wonderful evening or morning. I have no idea where you're located, but have a good one. What other questions do y'all have? What other questions do y'all have about anything? I'm happy to keep blabbing about whatever. I'm good at that. Oh, this is completely random and off topic, but I was thinking about this today. So, lobsters used to be considered the food of like poor people, you know? But now, obviously, that's not the case. I love lobster. And I'm so curious, like, if in the past, when it was considered a poor people's food, did we just all assume, did we just like say, ew, that tastes bad because it's for poor people? Or were we being society humans, or was it like it tasted good, but we just decided that that wasn't for wealthy people? I don't understand. I don't know. Anyway, this was just a random thought that I had today. Lobster's really good, and I wish it was not as expensive as it is. My mom asks, when am I coming home to visit? I don't know. Mind you, she asks me this like every single time I call her, which is like basically every day. I don't know the answer to that because I am bad at planning, but also simultaneously like can't get anything done unless I've already planned it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? It doesn't, but that's how my brain works. Sardines took up lobster's spot as lower income food. Yes. That was a comment from Facebook. That's, that's probably accurate. Yeah. It's very interesting the way that happens. I don't know. Once rich people decide they like something, it's suddenly worth a lot. Can rich people decide they like science? Funding. Anyway, sardines are gross. I agree. Maybe lobsters were more abundant then. I'm sure that's probably part of it. But it's not like I don't think they're endangered or anything now. Like sardines are great fish. I just don't like fish in general. And my mother is the one who said sardines are gross. She and I just don't like fish. But if you like fish, fantastic. Go ahead, eat those sardines. Sometimes I wish that I liked fish. I like maybe I'm just bougie. I really like fresh tuna. Like I won't eat fish unless it's like my friend like went to get it like in the ocean. That was such a weird, I don't know what is happening to my brain. I'm blaming the COVID brain fog. I don't typically eat fish unless one of my friends caught it, like spear fishing or fishing or something, because then I know it's sustainable. I'm loving this debate about whether or not we enjoy eating fish in the comments. That's really funny. Oh, yes. Sardines are, fish in general are very rich in nutrients. That's very true, which is why there are a lot of communities that rely on fish. And that's really cool. So we should protect our resources to make sure that these communities have food into the future. My mom says she loves seafood, just not fish. I can relate to that. I tried oysters for the first time recently. I hated them. Shout out to Dr. Catherine McDonald and to Amani for getting me to try oysters. They were cooked. I will never try raw oysters. The texture of the cooked oysters was awful. But I appreciate them for pushing me to try something new. And I ate like 3 of them, and then I was like, nope, I can't. I'm done. But that was the last time I was in Florida, right before I did a shark handling course with Field School. And Amani was there as one of the crew members. And so I got to like hang out with the Field School people and Amani and like all of my new friends from all over the place. And it was a really fun course. It was awesome. What other questions you guys have about sharks? About Miss? About me? About the other co-founders? I don't know if I can answer those questions sufficiently, but I can definitely try. Yeah, I'm happy to answer as many questions as y'all have. My mom wants to be a camp counselor for the next summer camp. I actually don't know how we choose our counselors. I don't know much about sharks, but it would be a blast. You're right. Laria, I'm so sorry if I butchered your name. Says that there are 10 species of hammerheads. There are. How many species of sharks am I researching? That is a good question. I don't know. I haven't picked a dissertation project just yet. And whatever I do pick for my thesis dissertation, will have multiple chapters, and those chapters might span a couple different species. I might be comparing between species. So right now I'm just focused on like maybe 2 or 3 species. But that could totally change in the future. I might end up just focusing on one. I might end up focusing on a bunch. I have no idea. So there are many options, and that's quite exciting, but also difficult for someone that is indecisive like myself. I'm still very excited about it. But yes, there are 10 species of hammerheads. I cannot name them all. Amani and I tried recently. And I struggled. So there's the great hammerhead, the scalloped hammerhead, the smooth hammerhead. There's the bonnethead, the scalloped bonnethead. There's the Carolina hammerhead. There's the winghead. I can't remember the other 3. I know that there's one. It's either there's one species that is super, super like almost indistinguishable from one of the other hammerheads. I think it's one species and the scalloped, or it's one species and the smooth. I can't remember which one. But basically the only way that they've been able to tell them apart so far is like they were like, oh, this hammerhead's out here. That's weird. And then they did genetic testing and they were like, oh, that's not even the same species. And that's really cool. Yeah. What is the collective noun for sharks? Like a group of sharks? A group of sharks would be called a shiver. And a group of rays is called a fever. I love group of animal names. Like, I know I made a video about bush dogs recently, and I know that it would be called like a pack because they're canids, but I think they should be called a bushel because they're bush dogs. What is your process for selecting workshop and fellow shop participants? Great question. Basically we have our like applications that they fill out. We get all the applications. Um, each of us goes through and reads each of the applications, all the answers to all the questions that we've had. And then we kind of assess whether or not we think that they would be a good fit for the fellowship, um, judging by like how much experience they have. Not saying that you necessarily need experience. Like for our workshops, we kind of prefer if you don't have a lot of experience, because it's made for people who haven't had the chance to get out and get these experiences yet and get their foot in the door. And so we want to help them with that. So just, we have our criteria of like trying to figure out if we think that they would be a good fit. We go down the list of all of our applicants, and each one of us puts like yes or no or maybe or whatever. And then we go through and look at however many people we're able to accept. And then we pick as many people as possible to fill the spots. Like if all four of us said yes, then that person will probably be in. If we have too many, then we will do an interview process to determine who gets like the last couple spots or something like that. And that's how we determine that. It's always so difficult though, because we want so badly to be able to give everybody a spot. But sometimes like we'll have like 2 spots for a fellowship, but like 15 applicants. And it's so hard to sit there and tell 13 people, sorry, we don't have space for you right now. It breaks my heart. But every time we always say like, hey, I'm really sorry we don't have space for you right now, but like try again next year, or here's some other opportunities that we offer. Make sure that you become a member so that you can stay connected with our network, because even though we couldn't provide you with this position right now, we still want to be able to help you continue through your career. So, it's so hard. I love doing the interviews because I love getting to meet all these new people, but I hate doing the interviews because then I'm like, I have to like not pick one of you, and it's so difficult. That is that is the hardest part, I think, about, I don't want to say doing this whole, like the entire nonprofit, because time management is also quite difficult, but that's the hardest part definitely about providing these opportunities, is having to tell some people that we don't have enough space for them, and it's so hard because we want to help everyone. Yeah. Do we have other questions about anything? Science communication? Sharks? About this amazing shirt that I'm wearing? It's whale shark pattern on the other side. I got it from Waterlust. I love Waterlust. Their clothes are made out of some percentage of recycled material. I don't know what percentage because I can't remember. But they've got like whale shark stuff and like parrotfish stuff, coral, abalone, lionfish, and more. And the proceeds go to like the respective, what's it called? Like animals, I guess. So like if you buy some like abalone pants, part of the proceeds go to like abalone restoration. And same with like whale sharks or corals. And that's really cool. So you get high quality clothing that is also helping to support a good cause. I know I sound like I'm being paid by Waterlust to say all this, but I'm not. I just really like Waterlust, and I really like their clothing. It's really high quality. So I recommend. How did you get into SciComm? For those of you that don't know, SciComm is science communication. I got into SciComm, honestly, because I was like bored one day. In 2019, I was like, I refuse to download TikTok. I'm not doing it. I'm stronger than this. I refuse to be that Gen Z stereotype. And then I got bored, and then I downloaded TikTok. And yeah, it became a huge part of my life and personality very quickly. I started making videos because I saw a bunch of people doing their, like, everyone's got their thing on TikTok, whether it's like, oh, I'm a choreographer, I'm going to do a dance, or like, I'm a makeup artist, I'm going to do a cool look, or I'm an artist and I'm going to like draw a company if they were a person. I saw all these people doing these cool things and I was like, I want a thing. I want to have a cool thing. So I was like, I like animals and I talk a lot. Let's do that. And so I started making videos about animals all over the place, any kind of animals, not just sharks. And my friend, now roommate, told me that I should post them on Twitter, and it kind of got a lot of traction. And so that kind of built my following on Twitter. And then it started to pick up later on TikTok. And now I have over 20,000 followers on Twitter and TikTok. And I get to share cool things with people, talk about science and like educate people and like just share my excitement for the natural world with people all over the world. And I think that's really cool. So that's how I got into SciComm. Yeah, when we get Waterlust from your website, some of the proceeds will go to Miss. Yes, so if you go to the link in our bio on Instagram or Twitter, it might also be on Facebook. I'm not sure. I don't run the Facebook account. If you go to the Waterlust link that is in our bio, it has to be the link that's in our bio. Then when you order, some of your proceeds will go to supporting Miss. So if that's something that you're interested in, I recommend buying Waterlust, and I recommend using the link in our bios to do it. Thank you for that comment, because I definitely forgot to mention that. And that's important. So I appreciate it. Yeah. What other questions we got? Questions about everything. You did already. You amazing. Thank you. We appreciate you supporting the ocean with Waterlust and supporting Miss with your purchase of Waterlust. So thank you, thank you. I also just want to say I am very proud of myself for starting this live stream on time. For those of you that don't know me well, I am 5 minutes late to absolutely everything, and I try very hard not to be. Punctuality is not my strength, and admitting it is the first step of fixing it. But I started this on time, like at 7. I'm very proud of myself for that. Hi from Texas. Oh, hello. How are you? I hope you're doing well. We've had a couple questions about thresher sharks and how did I get into science communication, but you're welcome to ask literally any question. And if I repeat myself, then I repeat myself, and that's totally cool. But yeah, ask me whatever you want, whether it's about Miss or about me or about the ocean or about sharks or any other animal. I'm happy to answer it to the best of my abilities. And also, since I'm on my computer, I will fully just look it up if I don't know the answer. So yeah, I'm here to answer any questions. Any questions. I co-founded with Jasmine. Yes, I did. It was me, Carly Jackson, Amani Weber Schultz, and Jasmine Graham. Jasmine basically pulled all 4 of us into a group chat on Twitter and was like, hey, we need to start an organization. And we were all like, let's do it. And then we did it. Yeah, it was a wild time. It has continued to be a wild time. Not wild bad, just wild, like fun, great, awesome, busy in like the best way. So yeah. How long was the process to get the nonprofit ready? From like the idea popping into Jasmine's head to us launching was about 2 weeks. And honestly, I think the thing that took the longest was finding a name. it was quite difficult. um, but yeah, it took about 2 weeks, which is probably really fast. But then getting the actual paperwork for it to become like a nonprofit took months because I think we needed like a certain amount of money, and we were under field school. They were like our fiscal sponsor. It was like a whole thing. Yes, no, getting the 501c3 took months. We were basically just kind of like a section of field school until we got our papers sorted and everything. But it's like you send off your papers and then you sit and wait for a couple months and hope that they get back to you in a reasonable amount of time. But at the same time, I mean, it was during COVID, and I say was during COVID. Obviously, COVID is still happening, but it was during like a really stressful part of COVID. Not that it all hasn't been stressful, but you know what I'm trying to say. And everything was slowed down. Like if you were trying to get a passport during that time, it's going to take forever. That kind of era. So it took a really long time for us to get our paperwork back, but now we are officially a nonprofit, which is awesome. Do all sharks feel like sandpaper? I think that there was a shark recently found that they call it like the skinless shark or something. Obviously it has skin. I need to look more into it, but I wonder if it just like doesn't really have denticles or it doesn't have very many. I don't know. But yes, in general, as far as I know, all sharks feel like sandpaper. If you were to touch them from head to tail, it's not sandpaper. They're like kind of smooth. But you go from tail to head and you're going to slough off a couple layers of skin. There's this thing in the biz that we call shark burn. It's like road rash, except that it's now much more susceptible to getting infected by the ocean and all of its parasites and pathogens and things. So when you get shark burn, it's like, if it's not bleeding, you wash it with soap and water. If it's starting to like ooze and bleed, like antiseptic, like wipes and peroxide and the whole shebang, because you don't want to get that infected. Shark slime is really gross. They can be slimy. Yeah. Some sharks are slimier than others. Tiger sharks are slimy and they smell gross. But yeah, shark burn. I recently got like a tiny little patch of shark burn, just enough for me to say that I got shark burn without it like scabbing and scarring and like oozing and being super gross and painful. But it felt like rug burn and it was super weird. So yeah. What is the best advice you can give to youth looking to pursue a degree in marine science? Thank you for the Miss Camp this week. Oh, amazing. I think that the best advice that I could give to the youth looking to pursue a degree in marine science is that there's so many things. I'll give a couple pieces of advice. One, your GPA and your grades do not tell you how much you've learned and how smart you are. Amani will go on and on and on about this because she's very open about the fact that she didn't have a super good undergrad GPA. But that doesn't mean that she's not smart. It doesn't mean that she's not a good scientist. It just means that maybe she's not as good at taking tests, or maybe just certain classes were really difficult. You know, it's different for everybody. I struggled in a class this last semester too. And I think that it's just because maybe my learning style has changed and the teaching style maybe wasn't the best for my own learning. So just because I didn't do well in the class doesn't mean that I'm not smart. It doesn't mean that I don't understand what's happening. It doesn't mean that I didn't learn anything. So I think it's really important for people to recognize that, like, just because you may not have gotten like an A doesn't mean that you didn't learn a lot. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be a bad scientist. So I know people that currently have PhDs are advising students and they had like a 2 point something in undergrad. Again, doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you're not smart. It just simply means that like taking classes is maybe a little bit more difficult, or at least certain classes for different reasons. And that's totally okay. Different people have different strengths, and you don't have to be good at absolutely everything. Another piece of advice is there are probably going to be people that are going to tell you that you can't do it. or that you shouldn't do it or whatever. People are going to try to discourage you, and that's rude. You don't need that in your life. So ignore those people because that's not important. If you want to go into science, then you can go into science. Science is for everybody. Science is very important. Science needs all different thought processes and types of people and backgrounds to be successful. So if you want to go into science, there's a place for you in science. And I don't care what anybody else says. It doesn't have to be you don't have to be a professor. You don't have to be a researcher. You don't have to be great at field work. You can do lab work. If you're not really a lab work kind of person, maybe you can find something that's more field work. There's so many different types of jobs in science that it's weird for someone to tell you you can't do science. Like there's so many different parts of science. There's so many different pieces to it. There's so many different important factors and jobs that go into science. And if you want to go into science, there's a place for you. So that is my biggest advice. Don't let people get you down. Find yourself like a support group, a hype man, if you will. I like to be my own hype man sometimes. Or my mom. I'll call my mom crying and telling her I failed a test. And she's like, that's okay. You're still a genius. You got this. You're good at science. And I'm like, thanks, Mom. You're right. So find someone that'll do that for you. What else do we have here? I have a friend who's a dolphin researcher. He wanted me to tell you to ask your sharks to stop biting his dolphins. I can't because they won't listen to me. Sharks don't want anything to do with me as much as I want them to want to do with me. Did that make sense? I want sharks to love me as much as I love sharks is what I'm trying to say. But also sometimes dolphins come at my sharks. So tell them to stop. I'm pretty sure they go after like the liver because it's very fatty. And so if we ever pull up a shark that has been picked off and no longer has a liver, we know who the culprit was. So I'll tell your sharks, I'll tell my sharks to stop biting dolphins if you tell the dolphins to stop biting the sharks. Deal? I feel like that's a fair trade. Where are you in your career as far as school goes? I just finished my first year of grad school. Technically, I finished my second year of grad school, but my first year in this program. So I was at the University of Washington, and then my advisor transferred here, and I basically kind of started over. They didn't really take my credits, and that's okay. Whatever. I'm not concerned about it. So yeah, I finished. It's a little weird. I am like kind of a third year, but actually I'm going into my second year in this program. So I just go with, I'm a second year, whatever. Very confusing, long-winded answer. There you go. But yes, second year grad student. It is a 5-year program. So I'll be here for a while. Yeah. What's the weirdest thing you have heard of a shark eating? I know that the answer you're probably looking for is like a tiger shark eating like a license plate or like a tire, which totally weird for sure. However, I am going to say seagrass because bonnethead sharks eat like crustaceans and stuff. Like they'll eat crabs that live in the seagrass and stuff. And so scientists were finding seagrass in their stomachs. And for the longest time, we were just like, oh, they're just like eating it on accident. Like they're not trying to eat the seagrass. They're just accidentally ingesting some like while they're eating these crabs. No. They are actually the only known omnivorous shark species that we know of on the planet. They actually eat and digest and get nutrients from seagrasses. And that is wild because we think of sharks as these like hyper carnivorous organisms that only ever eat animal matter, only ever hunt, or like, and that simply isn't the case for the bonnethead. Sometimes they like a salad every once in a while, and that's kind of cool. And that's one of the reasons why they are up there as one of my favorite sharks. And I'm sure that is true for a lot of the other co-founders as well. When I finish my program, what do I want to do like for my actual adult job? Thanks, Mom. I want to continue research in some way. But I also want to continue doing science communication. And in reality, I would love to have a show on like Animal Planet. Um, like a Jeff Corwin, like a Steve Irwin, but me, you know? I think it'd be really cool to kind of be able to just kind of like travel around to different places and be like, hey, these animals are really awesome. And I'm going to tell you about them. And I'm going to show you why I get so excited about them. And just kind of like more than just TikTok. I love TikTok. But on like a TV channel to be able to be like, hello, my name is Jaida and I'm super excited about animals. Let's get excited about them together and be a bunch of science nerds and talk about science things. That's what I want. My mom says Jada's Journeys. Stop! I didn't even consider a name yet. That's so cool. I love that. I'm gonna have a show and it's gonna be called Jada's Journeys. Like Jeff Corwin's like ocean exploration or whatever it is. Also, fun fact, I met Jeff Corwin when I was like 8 or 9 years old. And it was like probably the best day of my life. One of. And I got like a stuffed animal the day that I met him, and I still have it. And it's not even like, it's not a shark. It's like a frog that has hearts all over it. It was a Webkins, and I'm obsessed with it, and I still have it, and I like snuggle with it sometimes. Or if I'm like feeling a little down, get a little imposter syndrome, I just look at that and I'm like, on this day, Jeff Corwin told me I was a brave girl because I told him that I had a pet snake, and he told me that I was brave. And I know that I was 8 years old and he was just trying to be nice to an 8-year-old, but I'm going to hang on to that till the grave, man. That was like the best thing ever. And I hope that one day I can meet him again and be like an articulate human being that can like actually discuss science and animals with him rather than like, I have a snake. Like, you know what I mean? But I don't know. He did a really good job of like helping to like fuel my science fire. And so, yes. I also love that my mom is my hype woman. When I did poorly in this class, she was like, everyone hits an academic hurdle sometimes, and that's okay. You hit a wall and you just find your way to get through it. Some people get a shovel and dig under the wall. Some people take the long way and walk around the wall. Some people get a rope and go over the wall. Some people just be super strong and punch right through the wall. And I was, mind you, literally sobbing as she was telling me all of this because I was like, I didn't do well in this class, and it just like imposter syndrome went crazy. And so thanks, Mom, for being my hype woman. You the best. What else do we have here? Really good for the youth to hear. They have so many learning styles and career goals. Definitely not one size fits all path. Exactly. And I think that that's true for like every career. It's no one size fits all. It's no like, if you don't learn this way, then you're wrong and you don't belong here. That's not how that works. Because people are different. People have different experiences. People have different brains. People learn differently. You might need a little extra time on a test. That's fine. Ask for it. Doesn't mean that you're dumb. It doesn't mean that you're not intelligent. It just means that you need extra time. I always need extra time on tests. I suck at time tests because I take my time to really sit and consider my answers and think about it. And I take my time to like really fully read something. Like I need extra time on tests, and that's just something that I need to ask for, and that's totally fine. Some people will like blaze through tests and be really good at it, but then immediately forget the information. And that just means that they need to do some extra review after the exam. And that's totally fine too. Nobody learns the same way. Or I guess there are many different ways to learn. And I think that it would be really cool to like, find the people in your classes and in your programs that learn similarly to you. And then you guys can get together and like have study sessions that are more specifically tailored to a specific type of learning that can be helpful to that group of people, rather than like all of us that are super different get together and try to learn in the same way. You know what I mean? And that can also be helpful of like, let me teach you my learning ways and you can teach me yours. Maybe you guys can learn stuff from each other. And that's also fantastic. I just also kind of like the idea of like finding people that learn similarly to you and being able to like really focus on that learning style. And I think that could be helpful for some people. So yeah. Love you too, Ma. Y'all should literally be on Shark Week. My students and community kids would love seeing women and others they can relate to on TV. Thank you. I appreciate that. I will let you know, Carly was on a couple episodes of, I believe it was called Shark Attack Files with Nat Geo for Shark Fest. And those episodes are on Disney Plus. So if you want to watch those or show them to some of your students or suggest those, Carly is in those. And I just find it funny that they call it Shark Attack Files and she's talking about nurse sharks. Because I'm like, who gets attacked by a nurse shark? I see like one video of this guy that got attacked by a nurse shark. I like to call them negative encounters just because attacked is a very negative connotation. But this guy basically was down diving with nurse sharks with a group of people around him and took his regulator out of his mouth, tried to flip the shark into tonic immobility upside down and then kiss it on the mouth, and it suctioned to his face and wouldn't let go. I think he's fine. I don't know for sure, but I should probably look into that. But I'm like, don't mess with sharks. If someone tried to kiss me unconsensually, I'd probably bite them too. That's just, yeah. The four of you are in different spots. I don't know if that means like in our careers or like geographically. I'll answer both of those. I'm in Massachusetts. Amani's in New Jersey. Carly and Jasmine are both in Florida. But career-wise, Amani and I are in the same place. We both are going into our second year of our PhD programs. And then Carly and Jasmine are in a similar place as well. They both have their master's degree. Jasmine is a full-time Miss employee, and Carly is now a part-time Miss employee. And they both do like research on the side as well. So yeah. Oh, I also forgot. I'm going to be on Shark Fest this year. So keep your eye out for Shark Fest. I think it's called Planet Shark or Shark Planet. Some about sharks. Obviously, it's Shark Fest. But I will be on Shark Fest Nat Geo this year talking about, I don't know if I'm allowed to disclose that. I'm not going to tell you what I'll be talking about. But I will be on Shark Fest this year. So keep an eye out. That's very exciting. I'm very excited about that. Your daughter is loving this. Hello, daughter. I'm glad you're loving this. Also, this thing that I'm holding is like a shark. It's like bendy, 3D printed. Anyway, just if you were curious. She wants to know what's been your best shark experience so far. Ooh, great question. My best shark experience was when I got to go about 100 miles off the coast of Massachusetts. I was without cell phone service and out of sight from land for like 3 whole days, which sounds terrifying, but it was very refreshing. And you'd think that the water would be cold, but we were in the Gulf Stream, so it was like 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. It was great. And so we were out and we were basically snorkeling and free diving to tag whale sharks. And so this was the first wild shark I had ever been in the water with. I jumped in and I'm looking around trying to find this shark. Because the water was pretty clear, but it was far enough away that I couldn't really see it yet. And then I turned around and there's this like 25-foot shark just like coming right at me. And so I just like swim over to the side so that I could get a good shot of like the side of its body. Because that's identifiable. Like their spot patterns are unique, as unique as a human fingerprint. So if you get a good picture of like the side of it, then you're able to ID it and be able to be like, oh, this shark was here in whatever year, and now it's over here in whatever year, and just kind of gives you an idea of where the shark has been. But I got to be in the water with this crazy huge shark. I think the biggest one we saw was probably like 30 to 35 feet. She was gigantic. Oh, it was so cool. I just got to like exist in the water with this animal that is the largest fish species on the planet. And I just got to like be there peacefully with it. I wasn't bothering it. It wasn't trying to harm me. I also, fun fact, they can't swallow you even if they tried. They can't swallow anything that's like bigger than a grapefruit. But yeah, just to be able to like be in the water. And there was, again, I'm so far offshore. We were in like 600 plus feet of water. So you jump in, it's literally just nothing but blue in every single direction. Left, right, up, down, just blue. And then suddenly there's this giant, it seems like there's just this vast nothingness. And then you turn around and there's the largest fish you've ever seen in your entire life. The largest animal, anything that you've ever seen in your entire life. That was the coolest thing I've ever experienced. And I hope that I get to do it again soon. So yeah, that was my coolest shark experience. Fun fact, more people get killed by pigs than sharks. That's very true. You're more likely to be killed by a pig, a cow, I think a dog, a flying champagne cork, a falling coconut, a vending machine, than you are to be killed by a shark. You are also more likely to get bitten by a human being in New York City than you are to get bitten by a shark by being in the ocean. And I think that's hilarious. So yeah. Shark attacks aren't all that common. We think that they're super common because when they get reported, they get spread throughout the entire internet. Totally understandable. And that's not to say that they aren't unfortunate. Of course they are. We hope that nothing like that ever happens to any of our loved ones or the people that we know or anyone in general. But that's the risk that we take when we go out into the ocean with animals that we know are a lot stronger than us. It's like the same thing as like, oh, I'm going to go camping in a forest that might have bears in it. You know, the chance is always there. But I choose to not let such a small risk restrict me, if that makes sense. I just really enjoy the water. And if I see a shark, chances are it's not coming at me anyway. I've seen videos on TikTok, which I think are really cool, of like, there was one of like this guy, it was like a bird's eye view almost. This guy's like sitting in an inner tube in the ocean, and there's this big hammerhead shark, and it swims really fast, like right at him, and everyone freaks out. He doesn't get bitten or anything. Everything's totally fine. It then veers away from him and goes away. But everyone's freaking out, like, oh my gosh, this thing tried to attack this guy. And it absolutely was not. There was a stingray or a small fish that was like sitting near the guy or like underneath him. And the shark was going after that because it knows that this thing floating in an inner tube, the shark has no idea what this person is. That's not his normal prey item. He doesn't know what that is. He doesn't want it. And so if there's something else that is a prey item, it's 100% going to go after that instead. And so it was going after this smaller fish, and you can see it swimming away. It's just kind of hard to see, which is why a lot of people missed it. But if you are in the water with a shark, you are in the water and you don't expect to see one and you do see one, don't panic. Chances are they're probably not going to come at you. I kind of like to compare them to bees sometimes. If you don't bother them, they're probably not going to bother you. Just keep your eyes on it, back up slowly, and exit the water. Yeah. We are coming up on 8 o'clock here. Well, at 8 o'clock my time. I'm happy to take another question or two before I leave the broadcast. I'm still gonna blame all of it's COVID brain fog. I feel like sometimes I'm not making a lot of sense, and I'm blaming it on the COVID brain fog. But yeah. Well, this has been a a blast and a half. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. I very much enjoyed answering all of your questions. So thank you all for coming. Obviously, I have to say before I go, oh, wait, hold on. Chat about your BBC videos on their YouTube channel. Yes, okay, amazing. So I do have a couple videos out on BBC's Kids channel, and also a video on BBC Earth. So there's BBC Earth on that channel. I have a video called 7 Superpowered Sharks. Basically just talking about really cool shark adaptations. I think it's like 12 or 13 minutes long. It's super fun. I really liked making that video. So if you're interested in that one, go check it out. And then on the BBC Kids channel, there's a series called First Chance to See. And it's basically like baby animals, animals that are endangered. There's like a baby animal somewhere at like a rehab center or a zoo or a sanctuary. That was the word I was looking for. So definitely go check that out if that's something you're interested in, or if you have little ones that you want to try to entertain, and they can maybe learn a lot about some cool animals. Thank you, Mom, for reminding me to say that. And before I go, of course, I have to say thank you all, obviously, for being here. Your support is beyond appreciated. And if you are willing and able, we would very much appreciate a donation. We've still got a long way to go to reach our 30,000 goal by the end of the month, to continue, providing all of these awesome experiences and opportunities for women and gender minorities of color in the field of shark science. So if you're willing and able, please go to our website or click the links in our bios or in some of our tweets to donate. And if you are able to do that, thank you so much. And if you are not able to do that, that's totally okay. We appreciate your support anyway. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you for supporting us. Happy 2 years to Miss, and I hope to see you all around. Yeah, have a wonderful evening, afternoon, morning, day. Have a wonderful time period wherever you are, and keep loving sharks. Amazing. Bye, everyone. Mwah. Stay sharky.